Hello and welcome to the Growing Healthy Families podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Scott Haggerty. On this show, I interview the world's top health experts so that you can know with certainty what it takes to give your family a life of epic health and wellness.
As parents, we don't want to see our kids struggle. I knew that he had the potential, and I knew that something needed to be done.
It was hard. We would get frustrated. We didn't know how to deal with it. I was more emotional about it.
Sure that, we're here. Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Growing Healthy Families podcast. Moms and dads, I am super excited for you because we have a treat for you today. So one of my passions is to spread the message of health and wellness and really get people out there who their life's mission is to do that exact same thing. And so this young lady that you see in your screen, her name is Miss Zen Honeycutt, and she is the founder and executive director for an organization called Moms Across America. So I want to tell you what first drew my attention. When I learned about Mrs. Honeycutt's organization, I was watching a show called The Live Wire with Del Bigtree, and he had her on there as a featured guest talking about a major accomplishment that her organization had just achieved. They had gathered nearly 90,000 signatures and presented them to Costco, Lowe's, and Home Depot. And as a response to the action that her organization had taken, Costco said, we're going to remove all glyphosate-containing products, Roundup, from their shelves. Kudos and congratulations for such a monumental achievement.
Oh, thank you so much. And there were many people involved, and I want to thank everybody who shared that petition and signed it and spoke up, and the people who wrote letters too as well. There were people who wrote hard copy letters, and it was just wonderful that they spoke out.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. So for moms and dads, for those of you who are not familiar with Moms Across America and Mrs. Honeycutt here, let me give you some basic things that you need to know, which I think are really important. So one, her organization is really one that is championing the cause of awareness. Many of the moms that we talk with on a daily basis are unaware of the dangers that GMOs and toxins such as glyphosate present to the health of their families. Most are confused by the mixed messaging that you see online and in the media. Zen has taken the mantle as a world leader to remove GMOs and environmental toxins such as glyphosate from the food chain. Her organization, Moms Across America, empowers and amplifies, which I think is a really critical message, amplifies the voice of the mom locally and nationally to create healthy communities by raising awareness about GMOs and related pesticides in our food. The model for Moms Across America, Empower Moms, Healthy Kids, is in lockstep with the messaging that we have here at the Growing Healthy Families podcast. We love so much of what you're doing. We love so much of what this is. And moms and dads, the accomplishments that her organization has had and the places that she's been able to go and have an impact are a mile long. And so as you look at what she's accomplished and what Moms Across America has accomplished, it says so much for really the ability to mobilize moms to get together, take action. And it really is a tremendous statement about the power that moms have. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Moms love their children and will do anything to protect them. And legislators and senators and manufacturers know that. So that's why they work so hard to try to get the, consumers and mothers to purchase their products. They focus on mothers. And we are using that power now to shift the marketplace and policy as well. So we're very excited about that.
That's tremendous. So, obviously in your history, I saw that you're a mom of 3 pretty amazing boys.
Yes, thank you.
So, but from what I understand is they're also the cornerstone for your mission. Can you tell our viewers about what they went through and then where that led you?
Yes, I'd love to. So I do have 3 boys, Ben, Bodie, and Bronson, and now they're 16, 13, and 10. But at the time when I was just starting to find out about GMOs, they were about 9 and, younger. And so I had fed my children GMOs for 9 years and had no idea about it. Didn't make me a bad mom. I just wasn't aware. Yeah. And what happened was when my son was about 5, actually, he had an allergic reaction to a pecan in the stuffing at Thanksgiving dinner that was so bad that he almost died in front of our eyes. And, we had to go to ER, and it was just horrifying. And thank God he pulled through that. And we had the wherewithal to, on the most part, to be able to avoid nuts for the next couple of years. But one day he had a rash around his mouth, and this wasn't from nuts. He just developed all kinds of allergies. And my husband and I never had allergies, so we didn't know where this was coming from. We were very confused. He had a rash around his mouth that was lasting for about 2 weeks at a time. His lips would puff up and flake, and it was just horrible. And he looked at me one day and said, "Mom, I wish all my allergies would go away." And I said, "Me too, buddy." But in my head, I was thinking that's never going to happen, because the doctor had told us that his allergies, especially the ones to nuts, would get worse. They would in fact progress to life-threatening. The more that you're exposed to nuts, the worse it gets, right? So, but this other allergy was not nuts, and we were just wondering what was going on, and we just thought it was pretty much hopeless. We were resigned to having to do the best we could, Then I realized what I was thinking in my head was, it was resigned and doubtful. So I said, you know what, wait a second. I'm not committed to that. I'm committed to empowering my family and people around me. And so what if we could do something about it? And I remembered that I had a cousin that had gone gluten-free for a year and then was able to work some gluten back into her diet, like, piece of birthday cake at a party or a piece of pizza. So I reminded my son, Ben, about that. And I said, would you like to one day be able to eat a slice of pizza at a birthday party? And he said, yes. And I said, well, then would you be my partner in your health? Would you drink green drinks and, would you drink green drinks and do alternative care like chiropractic and acupuncture and all of that? Would you try those things with me? And he said, yes. And I said, then I promise you, and I shook his hand, you will get better. And he did. Within 4 months of eating GMO free and trying alternative care, his allergies went from 2 weeks down to less than 2 or 3 days. And instead of a whole swollen mouth, he just had a very faint pink line under his lip. We discovered it was a carrageenan allergy through an iridologist and alternative care. And so that got better. Then after eating organic for 2 years, his allergies went from a 19 down to a 0.2. So he no longer has life-threatening allergies to food. So can you imagine the peace of mind that gave me to not have to worry about my son dying from food, right? So it's been, that part of it has been amazing. And along the way, when I learned about GMOs and toxins through Jeffrey Smith and Robin O'Brien and various scientific studies, I had the idea of raising awareness with people. And my idea was to raise awareness with as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time, because we moms want to be efficient, right? And after Prop 37 failed, I was crying in the parking lot, and my son said to me, well, Mom, even Star Wars took 6 episodes. So he said, maybe, and I was like, you're right. And they had Yoda, right? And I thought maybe it's just time for a new episode. It's time to take on leadership. During the Prop 37 campaign, I had helped out. I passed out flyers, which is great, but I didn't own it. I didn't say, I'm the one to transform the food industry, right? I didn't take it on as my responsibility, not by myself, but I'm not going to wait for someone else to do it. That phrase, I always wondered if, why somebody didn't do something about that. Then I realized I'm somebody. I believe it was Lily Tomlin said, well, I had that moment. I'm like, I'm somebody, I can do something about this. I may not know how, but I'm going to get started. So I thought of raising awareness by joining into 4th of July parades all across the nation, groups of moms joining in. I knew if people saw the word moms and GMOs on a banner, that they would it would spark interest. They would go look it up, they would become curious, and they would educate themselves, which was a big part of our mission. And so we did. When 179 of us moms formed groups and joined in a parades all across the nation. We raised awareness with a couple million people that day in person in a family-friendly way. And Moms Across America has grown since then. And we've now had over 600 leaders that have caused over 1,000 events in all 50 states in the past 5 or 6 years. And we are, reaching a couple million on Facebook now and per month, and other social media forums. We've been in several movies and spoken in, different countries across the world, and been on Dr. Oz and CNN and news channels and all that. So we're getting the word out, and it's very, very exciting to meet and connect with people like you who care about health and who are raising awareness about our food supply.
Well, that's tremendous. And I love so much about how the focus of what you put is taking the mantle and owning the need for you to step into the position of leader. Because so many people feel disempowered, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what you said there to me was just really one of the greatest statements, is that you became the Yoda. You know,
I didn't say I did, but they had Yoda, and it
Yeah.
took them a long time. So,
Yeah.
we got to cut ourselves some slack. It might take a little longer.
Very true. But one of the things I think that is so critical is that the need for someone to take the ownership like you did, and then get people organized and get people moving, and the power of the organization. The mom's voice is so much more powerful as a unit than an individual mom. And when I was looking through your bio and looking through and doing research, one of the things I thought was really cool is that the expansive reach that you guys have gotten has led to opportunities to get into literally every major media platform, because the combined voice of moms across America now is getting into CNN and ESPN and every major news platform that you can imagine. And that says that there's an impact that's being made, not just on a local scale, but now a national and a global scale. And I think that's just tremendous.
Yeah, it is very exciting. There's now moms across Japan. They call it something a little different, but in Australia, New Zealand, Ireland was one of the first, and Africa as well. So we call that Mothers Across the World. We have a separate Facebook page for that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's definitely, and they're called other names, different groups as well that we collaborate with. And moms across the world are definitely, or mothers across the world are definitely mobilizing about this. It is a crucial issue to look at what the toxins and the GMO in your food supply, mm-hmm. and to take steps to eliminate them, and in your environment as well. It is absolutely crucial what's happening to our children around the world. I mean, 1 out of 2 children in America now have a chronic illness. 1 out of 2 males are expected to get cancer. 1 out of 3 females. 1 out of, I believe it's 8 now, have some form of chronic liver, dysfunction. There are all kinds of problems that can be directly linked or correlated to glyphosate, which is the active chemical ingredient in Roundup, which 80% of GMOs are engineered to withstand. In addition to that, they use glyphosate-based herbicides as a drying agent on wheat, beans, legumes, peas, barley, hops, oats, all kinds of grains. And it can be absorbed in the soil into carrots and potatoes and berries and all of that. So, almost all of our food supply, unfortunately, unless it's organic, is testing positive for traces of this chemical glyphosate, which I'm sure we'll go into more later. But it's a chemical that is slowly and insidiously deteriorating health in America and around the world. And there's many other chemicals as well that are very, very toxic. But when mothers around the world start finding out about this, they're like, wait a second, I do not want to feed my children or my family's poison. And they get motivated. And the wonderful thing is they see their families get better when they do avoid them. I mean, it's within a matter of weeks for many people that their families get better.
Oh yeah, we see it here all the time. One of the things that's amazing is really, and because when most kids come in, they've obviously gone down the road of starting to look into these things. But when moms really start to implement those changes, you can see powerful changes, skin, immune function, neurological function, things like that. So yeah, it's amazing. And for moms who've never heard about this stuff before, make sure that you go and visit the website as soon as you can, momsacrossamerica.org, because it's a plethora of information. I spent some time on there doing some research, and it's amazing the content that you have on there as a resourcing for moms who really are probably oftentimes curious, but maybe don't know exactly where to start looking to put the pieces together. And I think your website is loaded. Would you mind going into a little bit about some of the resources that are available on the website?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Moms Across America, our mission is to educate and inspire mothers and others to transform the food industry and environment, creating healthy communities together. And we're really very solution-based because moms have enough problems. We want solutions, right? So when you go to our website, rather than just telling you about all the problems, which you can find there. There's a data page with scientific evidence showing the problems with GMOs, with glyphosate, with, you know, many different toxic chemicals, peer-reviewed scientific studies, right? There's plenty of them on there. And it's not an exhaustive list. There are many more studies. We've just selected the ones that we thought were most pertinent to our viewers. So there's the scientific studies, there's the problem. You can find out about that. You can educate yourself. And there's also pages for action where you can go and click on, for instance, Toxin Free Town campaign, where if you want to get your town to stop spraying Roundup all over the sidewalks and the parks and playgrounds, which happens, they just have a truck and that drives around and sprays it in your neighborhoods. They were spraying in my neighborhood, and we got them to stop. So you know, you can see how I did it and how other people have done it. There's tips and stages to go through. There's also talking points for your town hall if you want to go to your town hall and ask your whole city to stop spraying, or talking points for going to your school board if you want to focus first on your school, because there's different jurisdictions, you know, different regulators for different areas. So you can go to action, and you know, there's also usually some petitions there and different letters that you may want to send to, you know, manufacturers and things like that. And then we also have a health solutions page where we have a very select number of breakthrough supplements that can help transition you from, you know, a state of gut dysbiosis and all kinds of, you know, autoimmune issues and problems. You know, they don't treat them, but they can support gut health. That's our main focus, is gut health. And then eventually we would hope that you would not have to be on any supplements, and you're eating whole food and you're getting, you know, all kinds of alternative care and exercising and sunlight, and you're being outside in nature, and you would not have to, of course, be on supplements eventually. But we have health solutions. And what else? We have ways to connect. We've got Facebook, and we've got groups on for every state, you know, so there'd be a Colorado Moms Across America, California Moms Across America. You can join on Facebook. And of course, we're on Instagram and Twitter and all the different social media options. And under movies, I'd like to point out too, under, I believe it's under about and info, or maybe it's data, there's a movie listing. And so you can use that to show short movies at your house. Like our movie Communities Rising is a 45-minute documentary of our trip going cross country, meeting great people and talking about the food supply and meeting farmers and all of that. And it's 45 minutes, a great way to have an organic potluck and show a short movie and have a discussion afterwards. It's really fun. My family usually does that about once a quarter or every other month. We have like, you know, 20, 30 people over. It's really fun. And so I urge you to take action by inviting others to take action. So that means hosting a movie night, or joining into a parade, or just having a park play date. Just say, hey guys, you know, we're going to get together at this park with our kids, and I've got some flyers from Moms Across America I want to share with you. And you can do that by posting an event. So if you go to our event page and post an event, we know you're serious, and our sponsors have supported us to be able to supply free materials to you if you're having an event. And so all you need to do is pay for shipping. So you just put in the date and the time, the address, and all of that, and you'll get an automatic code with a code for a free box of materials. So you can get involved in a lot of different fun ways.
Well, here's my commitment to you. Mm-hmm. When we're done today, you will watch in your inbox, you're going to see that Elite Family Chiropractic is going to sign up and commit to do an event. And we're going to bring our families in here so that we can start the movement here in our own office, so that we can start changing our community firsthand.
That's wonderful. Yes, I love it. You'll get flyers. I'm sorry I don't have them right next to me, but you'll get flyers that say like, why eat organic, which will be great to have in your chiropractic office. You won't have to explain it to people for 20 minutes, you know, during the appointment. I mean, you can if you want to. We also have posters for chiropractors and schools and natural food stores. If you want, it's a big poster that says why eat organic. You have to order that separately, but we have very useful materials. And we've had people, for instance, from the Northeast Organic Farmers Association in the East Coast say that they've been passing out our flyers for years, and that they find them to be very professional and clear and, you know, family friendly and all of that. So we're really grateful to our graphic designer, Anne, for putting together such wonderful materials that people can use. Very professional.
That's excellent. You know, you spoke a lot about action, and one of the things I want to circle back around to is You know, in the beginning, I mentioned about the initiative that you had to get Roundup out of Costco, Home Depot, and Lowe's.
Yes.
But the only one I mentioned that had done it so far was Costco.
Yes. Yes.
So you're still trying to persuade Lowe's and Home Depot, correct?
Yes, so we have a petition on change.org. It's not really being promoted anymore by change.org. So it's something that you can do and go and sign. But what's most important is when you're in Home Depot and Lowe's to ask the manager to stop selling it, to tell the people at the cash registers to stop selling it. And to write letters in person. The more, hard copy letters that they get really do make a difference. So we urge you to just ask them. The more of us that speak up, the better it will be. And I can't see that why they would continue selling it with right now. The second trial is coming out. The second trial, the Hardeman trial against Monsanto, the Monsanto Roundup cancer trials. The second one is happening right now, and they just got a verdict saying that the jury said that Monsanto's Roundup is a substantial factor in causing Hardeman's cancer. And so that trial will be continuing. By the time this airs, it will likely be done. But, with the second trial, this is a federal trial. It is not looking good for Monsanto. I don't know why any retailer would want to sell that product. In fact, in Florida, there's a woman named Michelle LaFond that sued not only her county and the manufacturers, Monsanto, for the harm that has happened to her community because they've been spraying glyphosate-based herbicides in their water. In Florida, they get rid of weeds in the water by spraying glyphosate-based herbicides. She's also spraying the store that sold it to the county. So the retailer. So that to me would be a huge red warning light for any retailer to sell that product or any other toxic, type products. I mean, they're not safe. And Scott, can I tell you quickly why they're not safe?
Please.
So everybody will say that's using these products, but it's been approved by the EPA, right? Why would they sell it if it's not safe? Well, let me tell you why. Because there are so many chemicals and chemical products that are submitted to the EPA. Chemical manufacturers are making thousands of new products probably a month across the country, right? There's pesticides and herbicides and tick things and all kinds of aerosol spray can paints and all kinds of chemical products that are being made. And if the EPA had to if they had to approve every single one, it would take them years to approve what they're supposed to approve in a month, right? So what they decided to do was only approve one ingredient in a product so that then they could then approve thousands of products, right? Because if there's thousands of products that all contain glyphosate, well, then they can just approve all of those products. But the problem is they're not approving the final formulation. So something can have glyphosate in it, but it can also have 52 other toxic chemicals, which have been shown to be 1,000 times more toxic. So they're approving the most benign chemical, and I don't want to say benign, the least immediately toxic chemical, right? Because immediately toxic is to them what is harmful. They don't take into consideration long-term harm. So if something kills more than 50% of the animals in, I believe it's 96 hours, then that's considered toxic. But we're not only exposed to something for 96 hours, we're exposed to these chemicals on a daily basis for 40 years now. So, or in our food supply for 20 years. So this is the problem. This is a major flaw with the EPA system. So when somebody says to you, but the EPA has approved it safe, no. They've approved one ingredient with short-term studies, no long-term studies, and they have not approved it on humans, first of all, and they have not approved the final formulation. So no one can factually say with any scientific accuracy that Roundup has ever been proven to be safe, or that any herbicide or pesticide that's been approved by the EPA to be safe, because it's not the final formulation approval.
And moms and dads, I think that is such a hard-hitting fact, but I think that you really need to go and digest that for a moment. because most people don't realize that. But when you take into consideration that that is the process, that's why so many times products are put onto the market and then removed for that specific reason right there.
Because we become the guinea pigs. They put it on the market.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with body care solutions, with drugs, with vaccines, with all kinds of things that most of the time they do not have long-term scientific studies. And I went to the EPA when we found glyphosate in breast milk. I went to the EPA. They invited us for a meeting after 10,000 moms called the EPA in 3 days, about this. And I said to them, you don't have any studies showing that glyphosate is safe for consumption. And, well, we've got hundreds of studies. And I said, but not on humans, you don't. Like, they may have them on fish or rats or something, right? But not on humans and not long term. And they said, well, of course we don't have studies on humans. It's not ethical to test for pesticides on humans. I said, well, if it's not ethical to test for pesticides on humans, how is it ethical to allow it in our food?
Mm-hmm.
We become the test subjects. And look what's happening now after 20 years of glyphosate in our food supply, where they spray it on GMOs or they spray it as a drying agent. Look what's happening to our population. We are severely sick. And there are scientific studies to prove exactly why that's happening. Glyphosate destroys it disturbs the shikimate pathway in the gut. And in the gut is the stronghold of the immune system, so that it disturbs and destroys the microbiome in the gut and the gut's ability to make important hormones, like melatonin and serotonin and guarin and all these different hormones that do things like have us feel satiated and not be obsessive or bipolar or, commit acts of violence, right? Because you don't have that serotonin in your gut, or melatonin, the ability to sleep, which can also lead, if you're not sleeping, to depression and all kinds of mental health issues. And also without serotonin, you can't regulate insulin. So what's going to happen? You're likely to develop diabetes, which of course is happening across the nation in skyrocketing numbers. So there's many different health issues related to this particular chemical and many other chemicals, and we're committed that we get them out of our food supply.
And it's moms and dads, if you're watching this, just take that in, digest it, and think about this. And then it's really important that now that you've heard this information, that it doesn't just sit there. It has to turn into some form of action. Yeah. And so that actually leads me into the next thing, because I want to talk about that cool picture you have behind you of the cover of your book, Unstoppable.
Thank you.
And so tell us about this book. What inspired you to write this? Because, for many of you who are just being introduced to Zen and her mission, the book is really, it's your story, isn't it?
Yes.
It's what your pathway was. So why don't you tell our viewers about this, and about what inspired you to write this book and what they can expect and when they read this book and how it's going to impact them.
Thank you. Well, I hope you will enjoy the stories that I share. They're very personal and sometimes very, I think, disturbing, but also there's many that are very triumphant, very joyful and happy. And so I wrote this book to share my personal experience because I think that we all learn by connecting, and if I can share my personal story rather than just information and facts, I think that people will experience themselves through my book. And I've had people tell me that, like, they were like, you were like me, that was my story, And so I really appreciate that. And I really connect with a lot of people across the nation that have read it and told me their stories, their testimonials. And many of them are also in the book. This is a community collaboration, really. There's farmers, there's lawyers, there's scientists, there's moms, there's teachers, there's all kinds of people that have contributed to the making of this book. So it is my journey, but it's also the story of what's happening in our nation right now. It's the story of our food supply. It's the story of corruption and how it's, that really the chemical companies are colluding with our government and frankly running our government now and completely corrupting our food supply and our democracy. So, the way that we get that back is by educating ourselves, empowering ourselves, taking action, And my book has some really good tips also. There's like 5 ways or maybe 6 ways now how to get your, how to have your family be healthy, ways, things you need to do and detoxing and how to, buy organic food on a budget, all of that type of thing. And then also how to talk to your family, excuse me, also how to talk to your family and friends about GMOs and toxins. That's a difficult thing to do. And so I give some tips and techniques in there that have come to me through communication experts and through my own experience and through the experience of others. So I believe it's a very helpful book and something that every expecting parent or anybody that cares about their health would benefit from reading.
I would completely agree. And moms and dads, so I just completed reading the book, and I love what you wrote in there. And one of the things that I took from that is the emphasis on action, because I think knowledge is only good if it translates into action.
Yes.
And I think action matters so much at this point. So because I think that's really the most important thing at this moment is, can you please tell our viewers how they can become involved with your mission and what they can do in their communities today to start taking action?
Okay. So before I address the how, I want to address a concern that comes up for people about taking action. And that is that they will fail, right? Because they don't know how, or they don't have enough time, or they don't have enough money. As soon as you think about taking action, those things will come up for all of us because we're human beings. And because like our identity or our ego or whatever it is in the back of our mind, the little voice in our head wants us to be comfortable. We don't want to take action. It is not going to be in your nature to take action. It is going to be uncomfortable. It is going to be confronting. People are going to criticize you. I say in the book, Pam Larry, who started Prop 37, the GMO labeling initiative here in California, which spread like wildfire across the country. She said, when I was getting criticized and trolled and chills and, all those things, she said, Zen, what's the quickest way to get criticized? I said, I don't. She said, do something. So yep. You will, when you take action, there will be criticism, there will be breakdowns, there will be times when you don't want to keep going and you don't want to do it. So before you take action, I would ask you, what are you committed to? And get really clear about that and share it with someone. For me, I am committed to health and freedom. And my personal commitment is to empower community leaders to be global game changers. And I believe that on a local level, when each one of us takes action, we will shift the global market, the global economy, the global system, right? Everything. And that's where the power lies. So before any of you do anything, get clear about what is it you're committed to. Is it health? Is it freedom? Is it adventure? Is it joy? Is it whatever it is for you? Get clear about that. Write it down. Put it up somewhere. Share it with people. And then think about what is it that you can best contribute. So I'm not going to tell you to go to your PTA and start talking about, the food supply and the school lunches if that's not what you're most committed to. I would just ask you, not committed to, but most connected with, right, in your community. So if you're more connected with your church, start there. If you are more connected with your PTA, start there. If you're more connected with your local legislators, start there. If you're not connected with any of them, get online, get connected with a group, and then start branching out, right? Because from online, like for instance, Nextdoor or Meetup or different Facebook groups, you can get connected with people in your local community, meet up at a park or, a coffee house or whatever, and then take action from there. So I would ask you, what are you committed to? And what groups in your community are you most connected to? And then just start there, take an action from there.
That's tremendous. So I think moms and dads, what you really want to take from this is that there's a starting point that we all have, right? And we have to get very clear.
And
right?
You know what that is. Yeah.
What's that?
Yes, that comes from you. You know what that is, not from somebody else, right? So right. I don't want to tell you which group to focus on when you know which one you're most connected to.
Yeah, and I think the clarity point is very important because fuzzy targets don't get hit.
Good point.
So I think it's really important that as you sit and digest what the conversation has been today, that moms and dads, that you really kind of put that into focus, right? What matters to you? What is going to motivate you and drive you? Because there will be adversity, right? Anytime you're going to affect change, especially when you're pushing back against what's, by now an accepted norm, you're going to ruffle some feathers, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the really important things too for moms and dads who are considering what do I do, I think that getting connected with the resources that you have available, because you have a tremendous amount of resources for people that are beginners to really start building their knowledge and their confidence and their certainty. So, if you guys haven't subscribed to the newsletter, moms and dads, go to the website and just get subscribed to the newsletter, and then start perusing the website, and then start becoming familiar with the resources and the content, and slowly build up your confidence, because your certainty when you speak to people will come by education. When you get a chance to go and look through the articles and the blogs and, participate in some events, it'll really help you to become much more certain when you have these conversations with these community leaders, so that you can stand in confidence.
Yes, and the talking points on our Toxin-Free Town page. So we lay it all out for you, and those talking points are easily read if you break them up into, say, 3, 3, and 3, and you have 3 of you go to your city council, and you each read those out. You don't have to be able to quote scientific studies when you're in front of the city council, but we do have them, so you can download them and print out a couple and bring them with you and just give them the scientific studies. So the point is, you don't have to know how to do everything. Just pinpoint which area it is that you want to focus on in your community. Is it to get Roundup out of your town? Is it to get more organic food in your school lunches? Is it to raise awareness with your mom's group or your church group? A men's luncheon, from a church group. Sometimes they get together on Fridays or what, bring some of the flyers, bring some of the information. You don't have to be an expert to start this. And that's what's really important, I think, is for people just to start sharing and talking about it. My book is a great way to get in there and get into the knowledge, and then start to be able to talk to people about it. And it's just the thing you're going to get out of it too, is that it's so wonderful to connect with people. Like, I've met so many just wonderful, compassionate, caring people from sharing about this, what matters to me, about the toxins in the food supply. And I found out that they care about it too. And I've been able to make new friendships and, have a new inspired faith in humanity by putting myself out there. Then, you get back so much more, and it inspires you, and it encourages me. And, it's just wonderful. Like, for instance, let me share it. I was at a friend's little barbecue gathering at the cul-de-sac at the end of our street, little barbecue thing towards the end of the school year. And her friend that I'd never met before was telling me about her son, who was running around kind of misbehaving a bit. And she was apologizing and saying that he was on the autism spectrum, and, he had weight issues and all kinds of things. And we started talking about GMOs, and I mentioned glyphosate and all of that. And then at one point I mentioned how it can actually cause GMOs and glyphosate can actually lead to infertility issues, and what a big concern that was for me, because I wanted my children to be able to have children someday, but with the increased chances of birth defects and miscarriages, like, it was just really scary. And then I stopped myself and I was like, wait a second, is this too much? I mean, we just met, and it was just like a casual gathering. She's like, no, this is my kid you're talking about. You've got to tell me. And I realized, yeah, I do got to tell people. I know this information. I'm not living in a silo. It's not enough for my son and my sons to be healthy. Their future spouses are out there somewhere. And I want them to someday be able to experience the profound love that it is to have their own child. You're a dad. It's profound,
Yep.
and we as a human race would like to be able to procreate, and continue on and experience this incredible planet that we live on. So it's my job, it's everybody's job to care, not just about themselves, but about their community. So I implore you, once you learn this information, once you go on our website and you learn more about it, and you start to become a little bit more comfortable with just, wrapping your head around what has happened to our food supply, just start the dialogue by asking questions. Hey, have you heard about GMOs? Have you heard about glyphosate and Roundup in this lawsuit or whatever? And just start the dialogue with your friends and family.
Yep. Great advice. Thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I want to emphasize too is that you have a lot of connection points. And there's a lot of ways for viewers who are watching this to start getting involved. What are the best ways right now for people to get involved and be able to participate in some of the events that you have that are going on nationwide?
Oh, great. Well, we every 4th of July, we do encourage and supply materials, banners and flyers for people to join into their 4th of July parades. Now, we've been doing this for 5 years. I'm not sure as many people will do it this year, but if you're new to us, you can do this too. And it is most likely that somebody in your town may not have done this before, because it's only happened in a couple hundred locations, and there are thousands and tens and tens of thousands of towns and parades happening across the country. So you can simply go to your city hall website and look up when is the town parade, and there will be an organizer that will let you know that probably in about by the end of mid-May, you would need to sign up for it, or June sometimes, and sometimes it could be the week before. It just sort of depends on how casual your town organizer is. And then again, you list it as an event, as I mentioned earlier, with the date and the time to meet up, and you'll get a code for a free box of materials. You will have to order a banner, which can cost about $50 or $69 from Staples or Vistaprint or something like that, right? But we give you all the graphics, and you just download it and send it to them. So it takes a little bit of coordination, but not too much. And in most cases, the parades are free, and you can walk with a banner with a couple of other people and pass out flyers. Sometimes you can't pass out flyers, but we encourage you to join in anyway, because that banner makes a big difference for people. And it just says on there, moms across America, creating healthy communities, sometimes in some cases marching for an organic America. There's different banners, toxin-free towns. You can choose what you'd like. They're very family friendly and fun. And so that's one way, by starting an event and joining into 4th of July parades. And then, like you mentioned earlier, when you get our newsletter, we will give you action alerts. There are times when we're like, hey guys, we need you to call your senator this week or your representative this week, because there's a bill that's coming up. For instance, right now there's a bill put out by Connecticut Congresswoman Delorio, and it's to have glyphosate as a drying agent be discontinued, at spraying glyphosate as a drying agent on oats, and to have all foods that babies most likely might eat be tested for glyphosate. So this is a very important federal bill that raises awareness about glyphosate being used as a drying agent. Now, it doesn't get rid of it entirely, but what has been shown is that oats are extremely high in glyphosate because they do spray it as a drying agent. In not all cases, but in many cases. And babies eat a lot of oats, and many other, different types of grains and foods. So that's a really important bill. And there's, in California, there's a organic food bill to have more organic food in schools. It specifically designates a certain amount of money to increase the organic food available in schools. And if you're in another state, you can say, you can get that going. You can ask your local representative to do the same thing. Show them that bill and say, hey, can you sponsor a bill like this? I'll help rally support. I'll put it out on social media, or I'll host an event to raise awareness about it. So just because it's happening in California doesn't mean you shouldn't share it, right? And initiate that as well. So there's bills that are coming out. There's also a bill in California called, I believe it's 468, that is to eliminate toxic chemicals from being sprayed at schools. Makes a lot of sense. These chemicals have been, proven to be neurotoxic, to be carcinogenic, to cause endocrine disruption. That means changing sex hormones. I don't think our kids' sex hormones really need to be changed. We should avoid that. So, not spraying toxic chemicals on school grounds is super important. And you can do that in your state as well. And, so there's lots of different things that you can do to get involved, but it can start just with this, putting out an event on Facebook or on our website to have people get together for coffee. It can be real as simple as that. Yeah.
Yep, tremendous. So moms and dads, big things here to take from this is, number one, get the book. You really need to go and hear the stories. You need to go and get connected to this. You need to go and really embrace what this has been, but also just read and dig and dive deep into this. And we'll have links on the show notes here, so you can go and find the book and buy it directly through there. Get connected to the website, start getting yourselves informed. The more that you can learn, then it's going to be easier for you to have the conversations, and get connected to the community of momsacrossamerica.com. It's a great reference. It's a great resource to get all of you to a place where you feel like you're part of that community. You can get the community support, but also have the resources necessary so that you and the moms that you organize can get out into the community and start making the change that, as we talked about, that you feel motivated to, for whatever your purpose is, to get out there and start changing the health of your community. And I'd like to talk about one more key point. Moms Across America is a 501c3 nonprofit. And so it's a very important thing that everyone who feels motivated become a supporter. Because it's critical that for the people that are out there that are on the front lines, that are leading the cause, they need our financial support to be able to continue driving these missions, because none of this stuff happens for free, does it?
No, and this is a full-time job for me now, and we need a team. We don't have full-time staff. We have some consultants, some part-time people, and we're being asked to take on initiatives with other large nonprofits that have $10 million budgets. And so we need to be able to play with these other organizations that are up to big things. And we need to be able to be responsive and, have people dedicated to things like communication and, and our blogs, our research. There's a whole lot of research that needs to go into putting out any of our articles. So you can also volunteer with us. You can donate. We appreciate that so much. Everything that we do, we are very frugal about how we spend any type of money, and our priority really is to empower everybody else. We always look at what is the impact out there. If we can print, 50,000 flyers instead of 10,000, right? We get a little bit more money to be able to do that. How many more people can we reach? And it really is about creating empowerment. I also want to share one more thing about an action while you were talking that inspired me, because you're doing this, right? You're doing a podcast to reach more people. You're a self-expression. There was a woman who started a Facebook page because she wanted to get Roundup out of her homeowners association, just in her immediate area. And she said, I'm going to post a video every day for however many days it takes me to get this done. So I'm going to do like a 1 minute or a 2 minute video every day. So she created a Facebook page called How to Have a Non-Toxic Community, or Toxic-Free Community, something like that. And she did it. I think it was like within 60 days, she got her homeowners association to stop using glyphosate-based herbicides. But she held herself accountable, right? And she said, I'm going to post every day. And so people were drawn to that. They're like, whoa, what's going to happen today? Did they not call her back again? Did she find a different alternative? Did she bring it to them? Did they accept it? Does it cost too much? She walked them through the process of how to do that. And that was just, really inspiring and effective. And her self-expression, her way to take on what was going on around her community, because it was not okay with her to see them spraying toxins on her sidewalk where her kids walk,
Yep.
and you may not know exactly what to do about it, but I would urge you, everyone watching, to take action about that. It can start with a phone call to your homeowners association. Hey, what do you spray for weed killer, and how often, and then find that out and get it in writing. And then, would you consider alternatives? And because we do have alternatives, and on our website under Toxin Free Town campaign, there's a page of 10 alternatives to Roundup written up by the lawyers that sued Monsanto. So they have to know what they're talking about. And we also added some pictures of different alternatives, so you can show it to people, and it's very easy to consume. So yeah, thank you for letting me share all of this. It's so exciting to be able to connect with people and encourage them to take action, because we need to do this now. It's important.
Yeah, and we're so thankful that you took the time to do this with us today, because one of my missions in life is to be able to go and facilitate people like you to share your passion in a format like this, because we need to get moms in the communities to be more involved and more aware of their power. And so moms and dads, when you're watching this, I want you to really take from this that that you have so much more power, and you have the ability to go and drive change in ways that many of you may not necessarily feel empowered to do. But I want you to take Zen's example and realize that that could be you. You could be doing the same type of work. You could be stepping into this position where you drive change in your community in ways that you may not realize that you're capable of. But look what's happened.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you may not be like me. You're going to be more, my commitment is that you are more of you. You are a amplified expression of what you are really committed to. You are not frustrated. You are not down and depressed and angry. You are able to break through that and to express yourself in a way that is effective and that makes a difference for people. And in my book, Unstoppable, I didn't mention the tagline, so I want to mention that. It's called Unstoppable, Transforming Sickness and Struggle into Triumph, Empowerment, and a Celebration of Community. And so that's what I'm committed to. And for you to be able to express yourself in a way that is effective, inspiring, and makes a difference in your community, that's what I'm committed to. And so I urge everybody to get my book and to go on our website and to, poke around and find some things that make a difference for you and share them with your friends and family. Have an organic potluck, and slowly but surely, and maybe not slowly so much, actually much more quickly these days with social media and with, the ways that we can communicate now, and reaching out in person, honestly. So some social media things, there's censoring that's happening. There's, drama on the internet. I would urge you to not get sucked into drama, to not argue with people on the internet. Instead of arguing, look for what you can create.
Yep.
And please do not make people wrong, like saying that people have got their head stuck in the sand or telling people, yelling at them to wake up. No one is going to listen to you if you are being negative and making people wrong. This is about asking people gently, what do you know about this? Or have you heard of this? Or, wow, I just found out about this. Can I share this with you? People don't want to be made wrong. They want to connect and they want to be heard, and they want solutions. So if you have those things, you can make a difference with people. So
true. And so moms and dads, before we close today, just know that on the show notes, we're going to have the links to the website, links to the book, so that you can get resources. And make sure that you get connected and start building that knowledge so that you too can become a change maker in your community. Zen, I thank you so much for your time today. This has been wonderful. And I'm going to throw this out there. I'm going to get you back on here, okay? Okay. We're going to share this message here because we're going to become a direct supporter, and we're going to make sure that we continue stopping here so we can get out there and we continue to make the change. Moms and dads, get out there, write letters in support of getting glyphosate out of Lowe's and Home Depot. Walk in there, talk to the managers, take the action steps, get Zen's book, and start making change in your community. This is Dr. Scott. Thanks again, Zen, for being here. God bless you guys. Be elite. Thank you for listening to the Growing Healthy Families podcast, the world's #1 source for health education. Make sure to go to iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a review. Make sure to follow us on social media at the links listed in the show notes, and let us know what area of health you are struggling with so we can get you and your family on the road to epic health.